Hello, Michelle. Really lovely to have you here with us today and talking about just how much reward and benefits is likely to change given how much working practices and businesses are changing due to the impact of the pandemic, but also the longer term changes, a result of automation, digitization, the impact on our businesses going forward into 2021. So I was just wondering how you are assessing your business risks, perhaps associated to talent, the decline of office-based benefits, things like cybersecurity or data security when your reward team's working at home, when so many of your staff are perhaps working at home. How are you managing that?
I wish I had the complete answer. I think I'd be a millionaire as to that one. But let me just sort of pull it apart a bit. So being in a regulated environment, we are reporting risk. So we do have, risk assessment, which we're looking at every other month. So we hold a people committee, and part of that, we have a reward risk partner, and we do assess that. So we have given ourselves some key factors against which we assess, and obviously talent is one of them. I don't think we're struggling with talent loss at the moment so much, but I think because we are a business undergoing a huge transformation and a huge amount of change, our potential risk is around really bringing in and attracting new talent, and that is really affecting like the whole people strategy. And for me, in the reward benefit space, I'm trying to now sort of redevelop the total reward proposition and really think about our sort of employee experience through that total reward proposition. So I think there's some really exciting things that we can start to think about and do that are a little bit different around reward. And so I'm trying to really challenge myself at the moment. So one of the key things I've done is actually go out to employees through our engagement survey, and put in a couple of questions specifically asking employees, what's really important to them. Because what I want to do is make sure that we have a very employee-led benefits proposition. I'm also thinking about turning benefits sort of on its head and putting the products around well-being. So I'm not focusing on the products. What I'm trying to think about is actually at the core of a benefit strategy, having well-being. So well-being is absolutely part and parcel of esure's culture, and part of its sort of DNA. And then assessing from that and from our employee response, so using that data to then inform. And I think some of the things that I hear sort of coming out are, we're going into lockdown 2.0 today. We have to be more resilient. We have to think about sort of people's tenacity, their ability to deal with this situation, especially as we go into winter. So fortunately, it's blue sky and lovely and sunny today, but I'm just dreading, as we get more into the winter months, it's darker, windy, grey. That has a massive impact, and that is, I think, a real risk to our business. I think all the research that's been done shows happy employees, productive employees, direct impact to the bottom line. So I think, it's really thinking about how we, sort of get ahead of some of these issues now. And I think a lot of companies are really focused on that sort of mental, social well-being piece. I am very conscious around the financial well-being piece, and I think as we come through COVID, furlough, etc., there's a huge chunk of our population who are going to be really, really impacted by this, and we need to address that and be proactive around it. In the benefit spaces.
Question about that then. On that financial well-being, because you talk about doing pulse surveys and looking at emotional and mental well-being and so on into winter, but in terms of the kind of data analytics when it comes to financial well-being, have you got some modeling that you're doing, or are you getting data or using providers? Or how do you forecast or look into the year ahead of what you might do? How do you gather the information you need around financial well-being?
So I have done my sort of initial survey, just keeping it very high level, and understanding what is important to employees. What I'm planning to do is then take the results of that and drill down. So literally huge amounts of data to go through at the moment. So I'm working through that, and understanding what is really important to employees. So there are some sort of quick fixes that we can do. So, for example, in the compensation space, we've sort of got broad bands at the moment. So I'm looking to get sort of more clever, in-depth sort of job family pay ranges, that kind of fix some of that. But I want to continue now just to drill down. Normally I'd be doing this in the office. So obviously I need to sort of find different ways of communicating with all of our employees, but actually drilling down into sort of more specific focus groups, to understand what's really important. So we have, as I'm sure a lot of organisations, we have people in their 20s who are on the national minimum wage in our contact centre, right through to people in their 60s coming up to retirement, trying to tap into all those different generations now, plus the different personas. Is what's really important to me to come back around. So that is going to be a real focus for me in 2021. And then understanding how we support that employee journey, communication around that, and just thinking about, like we would think about a customer proposition, I'm really thinking customer as in colleague proposition. And so the different customer proposition has the different stages of the customer life cycle. So I'm trying to think, well, what is our colleague life cycle, and how do we tap into that? So I'm in my 20s. What does that mean? I'm in my 30s. I'm buying a house. I might be getting married. I might be having a family. I'm coming up to retirement. So how do we then communicate? How do we sort of provide tools? How do we provide, sort of financial awareness and education? Is where I'm going to focus.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm hearing that use of personas. It's always been with us, but in a much stronger way, across so many reward directors are talking about using personas going forward. Yeah. And just one last question before I leave you today. Can you predict, or do you think there's perhaps a benefit, a perk, a fringe benefit, or something core that you think we'll be seeing more of in 2021? Due to everything that's happened?
I think the most important thing is going to be recognition. So I've been a big fan of social recognition, empowering the employee experience for years. But I think it's that sort of social contact, and I was hired in. I had my whole onboarding experience through lockdown. So there's that real disconnection, and I really miss those sort of water cooler or cup of tea conversations, or where you might just be sat at your desk going, oh God, somebody notices and says, come on, let's go and grab a cup of coffee and talk about it. I think employees can very quickly feel disconnected, and you just see email after email after email, or MS Teams meeting, firing into your inbox. And that's fine, and you're trying to sort of, churn through. But how am I actually doing? Are we actually getting that feedback? And so I think first and foremost for me is making sure, and this kind of goes back to the sort of happy employees, productive employees, but I think we've got to maintain real connection, and recognition of each other, and really think about, how do we keep that productivity and how do we keep that engagement going?
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Michele. That was really interesting talking to you today.
Thank you.